Every single morning, before the world floods in with its demands and distractions, there's a pivotal moment where you confront your most persistent rival, yourself. It's a hidden face-off that occurs in those few seconds between waking and rising, a silent challenge that lingers in your mind before you take your first step into the day. This inner adversary understands your doubts, recognizes your lingering fears, and is intimately aware of every excuse that tempts you. Yet, opposite that lesser self stands the best version of who you could be, the unstoppable force inside you that refuses to back down. The crucial question you must answer, day after day, is which version of you will prevail when the pressure mounts. This showdown isn't about comparing yourself to friends, neighbors, or strangers on social media. It's not about hitting some arbitrary life milestone or outperforming a coworker. The competition is completely internal, shaped by your own choices and commitments. When you decide to snooze that alarm, when you choose to avoid that difficult conversation, or when you opt for comfort over challenge, you're handing victory to the weaker side of yourself. Conversely, when you decide to do one more push-up, make that call you've been dreading, or open a book instead of scrolling through endless feeds, you strengthen the part of you that thrives on effort and determination. Remember this: no one else can set the parameters of this battle. No cosmic force or random stroke of luck will intervene. Life doesn't promise you a custom blueprint or hand you guaranteed success. The struggle unfolds within your own heart and mind. When you recognize that your fiercest opponent is you, an incredible sense of empowerment begins to grow. You see that the obstacles aren't out there so much as they lie within. And once you acknowledge your capacity to set the bar for yourself and ultimately transcend it, your perspective shifts. You begin to realize that you hold the keys to your own growth and that you can unlock greatness through persistent self-challenge. Too often, people move through life harboring the belief that something out there is responsible for handing them opportunities on a silver platter. You might hear them say they're waiting for a break, a perfect set of circumstances, or the elusive stroke of good fortune that finally sets everything right. But life, in its raw honesty, doesn't owe anyone an easy ride. Neither fate nor the universe is obliged to rescue you from mediocrity. Sometimes this realization stings, because it means you can't pass the blame to your family background, your social environment, or the unpredictability of the job market. The sooner you release the idea that external forces should pave your way, the faster you discover the enormous power that resides in your own hands. There is, of course, unfairness all around. Some people are born with certain advantages. Others face steep challenges right from the start. But focusing on life's unevenness is a distraction that pulls your energy away from what genuinely matters. Instead of fretting over who has it easier or who seems to sail by without much effort, direct that energy inward. Ask yourself, what can I do today, right now, to move forward even a small step? This is the mindset shift that elevates you from victim to victor, recognizing that external advantages and disadvantages are less influential than consistent actions you choose to take. The road to personal transformation is often bumpy, with unexpected twists that force you to adapt. Embracing the fact that no one is coming to save you is not a grim viewpoint. It's incredibly liberating. When you realize that true rescue begins with your own decisions, you stop waiting for external validation or assistance. You start building the life you want with your own sweat, determination, and ingenuity. And that empowerment to craft your destiny forms a bedrock of achieving genuine fulfillment and success. Each day, you come face to face with another formidable test, the honest reflection in your mirror. Unlike social media feeds that allow filtered images or the gentle reassurance of well-meaning friends, a mirror offers a raw, immediate truth. When you wake up and catch your own gaze, you're confronted with an unfiltered sense of who you are in that very moment. In that quiet space, you can't hide behind excuses or illusions. You either see someone who's pushing their boundaries and committed growth, or someone who's letting potential slip away. This self-reflection, while stark, is enormously powerful. It takes courage to ask yourself, did I truly give my best effort yesterday? Have I been living up to my goals and values, or have I been settling? These questions can be uncomfortable because they highlight the contrast between your aspirations and your actual behaviors. But they also provide a map for moving forward, guiding you to areas where you can improve. Each time you confront your own reflection and come away with that nagging feeling that you could do more, it's a wake-up call, a reminder that there's another level you can reach if you're willing to put in the necessary work. Don't confuse the mirror test with a push for impossible perfection. The goal isn't to shame yourself into believing you're never enough. Instead, it's to foster growth by being transparent about where you stand. If you look in a mirror and find that you're proud of your day's efforts, celebrate that. Use it as a stepping stone, not a finish line. If you see that you've fallen short, let that honest assessment fuel your next actions. In both situations, your reflection becomes a powerful ally, urging you to keep reaching beyond yesterday's successes and pushing toward tomorrow's breakthroughs. A common trap many people fall into is blaming external factors for their lack of progress. They point fingers at their boss for not promoting them, at family history for not providing the perfect start, or at society for presenting obstacles they deem insurmountable. This tendency to externalize blame becomes a cycle that stalls personal development. Each time you say, "I'd be doing better if only this or that situation were different," you're handing over a piece of your power. It's as though you're willingly placing your future in someone else's hands, relinquishing your own capacity to act. However, real advancement begins when you stop looking for a scapegoat and start holding the mirror up to your own choices and actions. You begin to ask, where am I letting myself off the hook? Which repeated excuses have I been leaning on? The realization can be unsettling at first because it leaves you with nowhere to hide. Yet it also offers a kind of freedom that can spark genuine change. When you take ownership of your journey, you liberate yourself from waiting for circumstances to align or for others to change. Instead, you see that you're the one who decides how intensely you'll work, how boldly you'll dream, and how persistently you'll keep going despite setbacks. Yes, the world is laden with injustices, and many individuals do face disproportionate challenges. Acknowledging these realities is essential for empathy and social awareness, but it doesn't negate the fact that your personal battle remains you versus you. Once you grasp that the biggest hurdle to overcome is frequently the version of yourself that seeks the path of least resistance, you step into a position of true responsibility. And from that vantage point, every step you take is purposeful. Every decision is an investment in your future, and every small victory becomes a milestone in your ongoing evolution. Paragraph 5, around 300 words. Remarkable transformations are rarely the product of one grand, dramatic event. Contrary to the popular notion of a single aha moment that abruptly turns everything around, real growth emerges from the small, consistent steps you take every day. These quiet acts often seem trivial. Choosing to wake up 30 minutes earlier to read a few pages, turning down an invitation to indulge in aimless entertainment so you can work on a new skill, or even just making the effort to plan out tomorrow's tasks before going to bed. Yet these minor victories accumulate into a force strong enough to shift the entire course of your life. It's important to celebrate these incremental wins because they build momentum. When you finish a task you initially resisted or hold off on an unhealthy temptation, you experience a surge of self-confidence. That immediate sense of accomplishment acts like a small spark, lighting the fuse of further success. Suddenly, you're not just making better choices, you're becoming a person who consistently makes better choices. That identity shift, a gradual, subtle process, is a true engine behind lasting transformation. Of course, this isn't a linear journey. You might slip and find yourself going back to old habits or losing motivation. The trick isn't to be perfect, but to consistently recalibrate. It's in these recalibration moments that your resilience is tested and strengthened. Each time you correct course, you reaffirm your commitment to growth, proving to yourself that temporary setbacks won't define your narrative. Over weeks and months, these small, purposeful actions weave together into a new version of you, one that's more disciplined, more confident, and more certain of what you want. And when you reflect on how far you've come, you'll realize that these seemingly insignificant daily choices were, in fact, the stepping stones to major progress. The path to self-improvement is rarely comfortable. It involves trudging to the intimidating unknown, confronting deeply rooted fears, and battling the lure of convenience. This discomfort is precisely the reason many people opt out of pursuing their true potential. It's easier to remain in a cushy routine than to tackle the rigors of early morning runs or late-night study sessions. It's simpler to stay in a familiar, if unfulfilling, job rather than risk the uncertainty of seeking something better. It's more convenient to dream in private than to expose your aspirations and risk failure, ridicule, or heartbreak. Yet, every breakthrough, be it small or massive, lies just beyond the boundaries of your comfort zone. Discomfort acts like a toll you pay for personal growth, demanding proof that you're committed enough to push past the initial sting. Each time you lean into that unease, you reinforce a critical truth. You are stronger and more resilient than your anxieties would have you believe. Over time, that repeated proof rewires your thinking. Instead of fearing the unfamiliar, you begin to see it as a playground for growth, a space where real progress occurs. It's crucial to note that facing discomfort doesn't imply recklessness. You're not supposed to leap into every treacherous scenario blindly. Instead, the message is to systematically challenge yourself in meaningful ways. Try a new skill that intimidates you, have that heart-to-heart conversation you've been dreading, or commit to a workout routine that feels just slightly out of your league. By doing so, you stretch your mind and spirit. Each instance of embracing unease chips away at the barriers that once held you captive. Ultimately, this willingness to engage with discomfort is what moves you to higher ground, a vantage point where you can see new possibilities and, more importantly, believe you deserve to seize them. Procrastination often arrives under the comforting guise of, "I'll do it tomorrow," whispering assurances that there's always more time. But postponing action is like treading water. You may not be sinking immediately, yet you're not moving closer to the shore either. Every day that you spend waiting for a perfect moment is a day you won't get back, a subtle thief of potential that robs you in slow motion. Despite how tempting it might feel to delay, the stark reality is that you never truly know how much time you have. Life is, at best, unpredictable. While it can be useful to plan and strategize, allowing yourself to be paralyzed by the pursuit of the ideal time or method often stalls progress indefinitely. The perfect scenario rarely aligns with the ticking of the clock. Circumstances shift, new challenges arise, and the path you thought you'd take might suddenly vanish. This unpredictability is why taking even the smallest step today is infinitely more valuable than endless planning for tomorrow. The key is to start somewhere, anywhere, and let momentum build from there. Moreover, starting now transforms your mindset. You break the inertia that's holding you in place and signal to yourself that action is a default setting, not the exception. This proactive stance fosters a sense of responsibility and ownership over your life. You cease to be at the mercy of external events, reactive and powerless, and become a self-driven initiator. Whether to create a project, a personal health journey, or a career move, launching into action solidifies your intention in a way that planning alone never can. Each step taken fuels the next, and before you realize it, you constructed a habit of consistent forward motion. By then, tomorrow is no longer a nebulous destination. It becomes a place where you continue the progress you've already begun today. Momentum is one of life's most potent forces. The moment you decide to start, you create a ripple that can either amplify your positive efforts or magnify your negative habits. When you're dedicated to a goal, say exercising regularly or learning a new language, every session you commit to makes it easier to show up the next time. The act of persevering takes on its own rhythm, turning daunting tasks into routines, and then, eventually, into parts of your identity. You begin to perceive yourself differently, as someone who doesn't miss a workout or fails to practice that new skill. This shift in self-concept feeds a cycle of growth, reinforcing your will to keep going. Conversely, momentum can drag you down if it's fueled by inaction. If you repeatedly procrastinate or dodge challenges, you strengthen that unhelpful pattern. Avoidance compounds, making it increasingly difficult to break free from a cycle of delay. This downward current also reshapes your self-perception in a negative way, as you begin to label yourself as someone who simply can't do it or never follows through. Recognizing this dual nature of momentum is key. It's not merely a matter of just do it or just don't do it, but understanding that each decision, no matter how small, is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Fortunately, even the tiniest positive step can interrupt a cycle of stagnation and set you on a better path. You don't have to climb an entire mountain in one day to gain beneficial momentum. Sometimes, The catalyst is a simple action: writing a single paragraph, completing just 5 minutes of exercise, or initiating one conversation you've been putting off. Over time, these small actions stack up. Each small victory builds the next wave of energy, making the next challenge just a bit easier to face. Ultimately, momentum isn't just about maintaining motion. It's about steering your life in a direction that aligns with your goals and dreams. Everyone's definition of success is personal, and comparing your journey to someone else's can be a surefire path to frustration or envy. Another person might define success by the size of their bank account, while you might value creative freedom or a sense of community. Neither perspective is inherently superior. The crucial point is to recognize that your life is your own, and the benchmarks you set should reflect what resonates most deeply with you. Attempting to follow someone else's map toward achievement is like wearing shoes that don't fit. You can force yourself to walk in them for a while, but will eventually lead to discomfort or blisters. This doesn't imply you should disregard all advice or role models. Learning from the experiences of others can certainly accelerate your growth by offering insights into strategies, pitfalls, and effective methods. However, you should filter this guidance through the lens of your own aspirations. Stay mindful that others may have different passions, risk tolerances, and responsibilities. Blindly copying someone else's route ignores the uniqueness of your own strengths and circumstances. Authentic success requires consistent alignment between your values and your actions. Moreover, the path to self-defined success is rarely straight. You might need to pivot, adjust, or even take a temporary detour when confronted with unexpected barriers or new revelations about what you really want. These course corrections are normal and often beneficial. They show you're paying attention to your life signals, refining your focus as you go. Each recalibration is another step toward clarity, an opportunity to understand more precisely how you want to invest your energy and time. In the end, success is less about wearing a predefined badge of honor and more about forging your own path, guided by the principles and passions that make you feel most alive. One of the most pivotal lessons on the road to personal mastery is simply this: keep showing up. Consistency is the often overlooked engine behind the grand triumphs people admire. You could have all the talent in the world, but if you only display it sporadically, you won't harness its full potential. Similarly, groundbreaking ideas lose their power if you lack the discipline to develop them steadily. Showing up day after day, especially on days when motivation wanes or life feels overwhelming, sends a potent message to yourself that you mean business, that you're committed to seeing things through. In the face of exhaustion or discouragement, it might seem futile to take just one more step forward. But those are precisely the moments that separate consistent achievers from those who give up prematurely. When you persist through low energy states or pass repeated setbacks, you cultivate a kind of resilience that can't be learned from any book or seminar. This resilience is more than an ability to take a punch. It's the understanding that the worst storms will pass, and that your steadfast effort is worth more than fleeting bursts of enthusiasm. Moreover, each day you show up, you reinforce positive habits that gradually shape a more empowered version of you. It's not about doing something extraordinary every time. It's about refusing to let discouragement or boredom derail your commitment. Even small, consistent acts accumulate into something substantial, like raindrops filling a bucket until it overflows. Over time, you'll come to see that success is less about avoiding challenges entirely and more about refusing to let them deter you. By steadfastly putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how slow the pace or how minor the gain, you create a foundation that can withstand the harshest winds and support the brightest triumphs. Inspirational figures can light a spark within you, showcasing what's possible when someone dares to break boundaries. They can demonstrate courage, resilience, and creativity in ways that expand your sense of what can be achieved. Yet, the most powerful form of encouragement often comes from your own history, the sum of your personal victories, and the lessons gleaned from your defeats. Think of a time when you genuinely surprised yourself. Maybe you tackled a physically demanding challenge you never thought you could handle, or managed to stay calm during a crisis. These memories serve as tangible proof that you're more capable than you sometimes believe. Each personal win, no matter how small, adds to an internal repository of resilience. You can draw upon these successes whenever doubts creep in. This bank of self-affirmation often carries more weight than any external cheerleader, because it's rooted in direct experience rather than secondhand motivation. By reflecting on how you overcame past obstacles, you remind yourself that the path to success is rarely smooth, but it's also rarely impossible. You've done hard things before, and you can do them again. That shift in mindset can be the difference between giving up at the first sign of adversity or pushing through to discover a new level of potential. In many ways, your own accomplishments act like a compass. They point you toward the hidden stores of energy and courage you might forget you possess. As you stockpile instances where you persevered or rose above, you strengthen the belief that you have what it takes to keep going. This self-belief isn't arrogance. It's a well-earned conviction that you can navigate challenges. And when you're fueled by your own history of triumphs, your forward momentum becomes unstoppable, allowing you to break through barriers you once assumed were set in stone. Ultimately, the legacy you leave behind is shaped by the daily battles you fight and the cumulative effect of those efforts on the world around you. It's not merely about chasing accolades or building a list of accomplishments. It's about the values you live by and the example you set for others. Consider the ripple effect your actions can have on those in your circle, friends, family, colleagues, and even casual acquaintances. When they witness you taking responsibility, confronting fears, embracing discomfort, and refusing to settle, it challenges them to reconsider their own self-imposed limitations. At the same time, cultivating gratitude can serve as a powerful anchor as you grow. By consciously appreciating what you already have, whether that's health, a single supportive friend, or even a chance to start over, you shift your mindset from one of insufficiency to one of abundance. This positive outlook doesn't just make you feel good. It provides a sturdy foundation for facing adversity. When you're grounded in thankfulness, life's stumbling blocks feel less overwhelming, and your mind is more open to solutions. Remember that your journey is not just about your personal gains. It resonates outward in countless ways. Each time you choose to push beyond your comfort zone, you open a door to possibilities that others can see and be inspired by. Each time you overcome a setback, you prove resilience is possible. Each small triumph over procrastination, doubt, or fear sends a message that progress is within reach for everyone. Whether you realize it or not, you're planting seeds of encouragement that can flourish in the lives of people you may never even meet. In the end, proving yourself to yourself becomes an endeavor that transforms not just your destiny, but potentially the destinies of many who follow your lead.